Hello, I'm Mary V. Today, let's talk about what to do if you have pain in your left hand thumb. So for many people, the thumb can be quite tricky because they're squeezing and some people are in a lot of pain. And it can be in the joint, the bottom of the thumb there. And some people have double jointed fingers and their thumb is, I can't do it because I don't have double jointed fingers, but their thumb looks like that. It's sort of very depressed in the knuckle. And that leads to a lot of squeezing in this part of the hand, just all here and here, right? So for a double jointed person, they actually have to feel that they're making their hand into more of a claw, so that they're allowing the knuckles to stick out, right? So they just have to teach themselves that it's rounded, rather not this, but that, and it's really the knuckle. So you can get a lot of pain from squeezing and depressing that knuckle. So you simply have to slowly, every time you start, don't do any playing and just practice the actual position before you even put any fingers down. So the other thing is that when people get older, they get stiff and sore, and there may be a touch of rheumatism or whatever. But if you have your thumb in the right place, it doesn't need to move around as much as the fingers do. So that needn't be something that holds you back, actually. But one of the reasons why the thumb might be very sore is actually more to do with the head and how you're actually holding the violin. Because the violin is held between the head and the hand, right? It's not just the hand that holds the violin and the head has got nothing to do with it. Now, if you're getting a very sore thumb, it could be that your head and your whole setup with your shoulder rest and everything is not quite right. And the left hand is having to do too much work and it starts clutching. So put your bow down and examine what's actually happening with your violin hold. And check your head that it turns slightly to the left towards the violin and it just lowers very slightly, just enough to secure the violin and stop it moving around. Okay, it's quite light. Okay, and then this is also light. Now if the head isn't right and you're pressing too much, you're turning the head and you're really pressing down on the violin, that could be affecting the left hand, because you've got to learn how to share the weight of the violin. The reason that we have the shoulder rest is to help us to put our head in the right place, just like that. Before I start the violin, I always get my head right so that it feels just right, and I think of a line going right down to my chest there. Okay? That's where the line is, right from where my chin is, right to my chest. And that's actually how you're holding your violin there. Okay? So you ought to be able to move your head around like that. And then, holding the violin, just rest the violin very, very lightly between your first finger and your thumb. Be able to take the violin off, put it up there, get your head right, get your hand right, and wiggle it about. And stop squeezing, basically. Just hold it lightly, don't even try to play. And just see how lightly you can put your head on the chin rest just to stop it from falling. That's all it is. It's not a really strong hold, and this is not a really strong hold. So basically, both of these things are to get the violin into position, but no more. All right? So you really, really need to go back to basics, especially if you're experiencing pain. You need to go right back to basics and work out the division and what each part of the body does, the chin, the head, and the hand, and get some sort of balance between those two, and it's as light as possible. There's no clutching, there's no heaviness, there's no gripping the violin with your chin. It's just enough to stop it moving around and wiggling around and being in danger of falling. That's all it is. Get the violin nice and close and touching your neck. Get a nice shoulder rest. I'll just show you properly the angle I've got mine at and the height. It's quite high, and I've bent it and moved it so that it fits around my shape, and it's well away from the rounded part of the shoulder. And over and over again I check and check and check that my basic hold is comfortable and that it's balanced, right? And that's without doing any playing, and every violinist needs to check this, because it's absolutely amazing how quickly habits creep in. You've got to go back to basics and make sure that the basic stuff is not holding you back, because everything is really impossible on the violin if you haven't got the basics right. So it's really, really worth taking your time, slowing down, and having a good look at whether the way that you're holding the violin is a good way or not. And before you start using your fingers, I think a good thing to do is to shift and allow the violin to wiggle about and move about a little bit. Okay, don't keep the violin really rigid with your head and then you just move everything like that. It's even shifting is shared between the head and the left hand. So allow the violin to move and teach your head how to stop the violin falling, really. That's all it takes. There's no real pressing in, there's no clutching. So I think before you start playing, start shifting so that the violin hold can get even more comfortable between your head and your left hand. That's the secret of it. And work out how to really hold the violin properly and stop squeezing with your left hand. And it will pay dividends in your progress if you get this right. Every teacher would work with you to get this right. So do yourself a really, really great favour and examine what you're doing, especially if you've got pain. You can't really play with pain. You must sort it out. You must do something about it, because it just gets worse and worse. And then you might have to stop for a couple of months. You don't want to do that. You want to keep on playing, right? So I hope that this is helpful to you, and let me know how you get on. And I'll say bye-bye for now. Bye.